Here you go.
Okay. Welcome to back to the Welcome back to the Lavatory podcast. I'm your host Isaiah, and I'm joined by my good friend here, Alexis. Alexis, you are the first female guest on the Lavatory. How does that feel?
I'm honored. Oh, you want me to take this?
Yeah, you
Okay. I'm. Oh, okay. I think this is exciting. I think you'll have some good conversation, and I am grateful to be the female perspective here on the Laboratory Podcast.
Now, Alexis, I brought you here because we always have so many interesting conversations off screen, and I thought we could bring some of that on screen. And a lot of things that I've been thinking about lately is like friendships and black identity, especially in today's day. And I know you are quite the person that has a strong opinion on some of those things. So let's start with friendships.
Okay.
Do you think in today's day and age, people are expecting too much from friendships or too little from friendships?
Wrap it up. Hmm. I think honestly, I think in today's day and age, we don't treat friendships as relationships. Um, I think too often, as much as I am, very grateful about things such as like mental health becoming more important and the whole protecting your peace thing, I think that has come with um, like more. How do I say this? I think it's come with more like individualism in regard to like we're just not showing up for people anymore. Um, I think the moment there's a disagreement in a friendship, people are like, "Well, I just need to protect my peace," and then so there's no like fight. Like people don't fight for relationships anymore. It's just if I disagree, then that's the end of the relationship, and that just is what it is. There's no, hey, like I actually cared about this friendship. Let's work to resolve it.
Yeah, that reminds me of like this saying about, oh, love shouldn't be this hard. Oh, gotcha. That reminds me of like this saying that like, oh well, if it's real love, it shouldn't be this hard. Love should be easy. But I think it's because it's love that it is that hard, and that it does take an immense amount of work to preserve and to endure. It sounds like people are. It sounds like people are not giving enough from themselves or putting enough effort on their end to like maintain those relationships, like you're saying, that once things get hard, they pull back and they're not fighting to persevere. And I have no idea where I would be if we didn't persevere in our friendships, because we have quite an interesting story about that. Would you like to enlighten people on how our friendship has endured?
Oh, where do you want me to begin?
You can
Well,
begin.
beginning.
You can begin where you think you need to start.
Okay. Um. Well, our friendship started um, through a mutual friend at the time's birthday party. Um, I had no idea who you were, but you called that Uber because I could not call that Uber, and neither could my now husband call that Uber. Um, and apparently you knew Peter before, but I lived in Canada at the time. Like I just came back, so had no idea who you were. You guys like kind of met, but didn't really know each other. And you took care of us that night, you and Josh. And from there, we Peter was like, "Yo, I owe this man at least a coffee or something." So you guys like got to know each other better, and then from there, I think it was like most of the like relationship blossoming. I feel like happened a lot, like right before COVID and kind of during COVID. Um, you would just show up to my house, and I'd be like, "Cool, I guess Isaiah's here." And that was always fun. I always felt like we could just like be around each other without it being like we didn't have to talk all the time. Like it was a friendship where like we could just be in the same room and it was nice to be in the same room, but like if it was time to like not talk, like that was okay. Like silence wasn't awkward. And that was something like I valued. I know that was something Peter valued. Like we just enjoyed each other's company. Um, from there, I went on a girls' trip to Vegas. You and Peter decided to have your boys' night, and a whole load of nonsense happened that night. And after that, there was a lot of drama. And I want to say, like, you came to the decision through just like I don't everything you were going through after that night to no longer like hang out with us and talk to us and stuff, which we definitely were like, what the heck is going on here? Because we always held the view of like you are a brother to us, and we always like again we enjoyed your company, we enjoyed hanging out with you. Like you say, we've had a lot of really good conversations that we don't have with like everybody. And so the friendship was just really highly valued, and is still really highly valued. And so after that, um, yeah, we just didn't talk. I want to say for like a year. Yeah. And we were just like, well, we hope we see Isaiah again. We were never not willing to have you back in our lives. I think we knew you were going through things that, didn't necessarily pertain to like anything we did or that like we couldn't be there for, but you had to go through it on your own. And my toilet paper's falling apart, and to like get to where you needed to be. And then one day you showed up at my house. Well, first of all, I was in the middle of a therapy session, and I got a phone call in the middle of my therapy session, and it said Isaiah Gunn, and I was like, I looked at my phone, and my therapist was like, huh? And I was like, that was a weird phone call. Anyway, I ignored it because I was in therapy. And then I got out of therapy and I called Peter and I was like, you know who just called me? And he's like, yeah, he's sitting in our house. So I drove home from therapy and we had a really emotional conversation in our living room, really randomly. I cried. I was very emotional just because I felt that like I didn't know if you were going to come back into our lives. And that was like really sad for me because I don't feel like there were a lot of relationships where I felt as close to somebody else, in like a friendship, that it felt comfortable, it felt like really safe. Um, Honestly, especially from a man. Um, and so I was like, literally, what the hell? um, and yeah, so from there, it was honestly like we had the conversation, and then I think you were back in the pantry, like literally like nothing happened. And so I was like, okay, cool. Like it's normal, it's cool. Like there was a lot of space for forgiveness. Um I think on both ends, just like an openness and not wanting to end the friendship. And that's where like again, like I was saying, like people don't always take accountability and people don't always like want to fight for the friendship. And I felt that it was really highly valued that you wanted to fight for that friendship and you wanted to take accountability and you wanted to like sit and say, hey, I am sorry for that. That like made the difference. I don't think you see that a lot like anymore. Like I was saying, like people are really individualistic right now, and I think honestly I do think COVID had a lot to do with that.
Let me definitely fill in some gaps for those who don't know this whole story. But basically, yes, I developed like this really nice friendship with Alexis here and her husband Peter, and I was at the house like every day, every single day. Um, and back then I was a different guy, you know. I would wake up. I would wake up in White Claw at the crack of noon. Um, 10 a.m. White Claw, boom, open up, ready to drink. Hey, what's going on? Like, we're going out, blah, blah, blah. Because where we live, we don't really have like an out scene. So when I had moved to Orange County, I didn't even know how to really act. Just always wanted to go out and, just drink and be a part of the life out there, um, which you guys were very accommodating for because you guys have so many connections. And so one night, me and Peter go out. It's actually over the course of 2 nights. The first night, I definitely got pickpocketed. Somebody stole my phone, and we couldn't find it. We tracked it, and it was at somebody's house in Newport Beach. And then me and Peter were like, "Well, let's just go out again. Maybe we can find it, or find the people who like stole it." Go back to the same bar, and that was a mistake because I already didn't have a phone, and his phone was dead, and we were both super drunk. And I ended up getting a DUI, and that like put me on this whole spiral of like spending like $10,000 to kind of like get through that, and then I had to move back in with my mom, and just lost like a lot of freedom, and like never really thought I was gonna be in that situation. And so when you're like kind of like in that headspace, you just kind of start spiraling, and it took a long time for me to have accountability for myself about like my choices, my decisions, and I had took that out on you guys for like that whole year. And so for like a whole year, yeah, we didn't like talk, and I really thought like I really burnt that bridge, and that there was like no going back. But sure enough, like me and Josh were kind of looking at different spots in Orange County to like do the stuff that we're doing with lampstands now. And we were already like so close to like where you guys had previously lived that it was actually his idea to stop by and like talk. And I had like ring the doorbell, and nobody picked up. So I was like, all right, let's just leave. Like nobody's home. Let's just go. And Josh, he's like Mr. Prairie Warrior, and so he was like, "No, man, like we gotta pray about this. We just gotta wait." And so we go through like this whole prayer, and like as soon as we said Amen, I see Ranger's head pop through the window, and so I was like, and I knew that means I knew somebody was home. Um, and so then Peter comes out, and he's like, "Oh, I was in the bathroom," um, and we like had that whole conversation, and I mean, here we are now. And it's just crazy because before that whole situation happened, originally I was supposed to be part of, your wedding party, and then that whole thing happened, and you had to make some adjustments, and then I was pulled from it, and then it was one of those things where like I got re-invited to the wedding, but not part of the bridal party. Which again, I was just happy to be back in the scene. But then some other things happened that allowed me to be part of the bridal party again. Not to get into all that. And I think that's a testament to like it doesn't matter like how much time transpires between people, or like, well, I'm not gonna say what's been done, but I think if two people are honest and want to fight to see that relationship, endure, you know, having those types of conversations and just being transparent, um, not only like reunifies people, but it also like solidifies it and makes it that much, more stronger. Um, because now I feel like if we can make it through something like that, I don't really see how we could be shaken by something even more intense. Um, so yeah, I think people need to kill their ego when it comes to like relationships and friendships, and just put in the work that they want to see. If you want to really maintain it, like just see it through. And I think sometimes it's not always 50-50. Sometimes it is like 60-40 or like 90-10, and sometimes people um, just don't have like aren't in a season to give like an equal amount of effort. And I think sometimes people like get too get too wrapped up in like, well, I'm doing all this, and they're not even doing half of it, but not necessarily knowing the full story about what's going on. Um, sure, they maybe could just be like lazy, and that might just be like a friendship like not worth investing in. But more times than not, there's probably something going on where it's just like this is just a season for you to like be the one to see it through and invest in it. Um, but yeah, another thing I wanted to talk about with you is that when I look at you, I just see a very strong, confident, black woman. And growing up, especially like in the military like background, was always traveling around the world, and I was usually always like the only black kid like growing up. And so black identity was always something that I kind of like struggled with, and I guess kind of still do today because I don't really know where I fit in, especially in like the changing landscapes in 2025. So I wanted to know from like your perspective, like how do you like how comfortable are you like in your blackness, let's say, and what does that even mean to be comfortable like in that label?
Good question. good question. It's also a loaded question. I guess growing up, well, growing up, I am mixed. So I appear, most people think I'm either fully black or a lot of the time I'll get like black and Hispanic, but never like black and white, which is what I'm mixed with. I'm Caucasian and African. And, my mom, she, on the outside, her skin was white, and my stepfather, his skin was white. So people thought I was like adopted, or man, it was a lot of the time was like, well, you're not black enough to be black, but you're not white enough to be white. And so I think that was something that like I constantly was like, dude, I don't know where I fit in here. Um, and and I think at some point during just like trying to understand like confidence in general, I let go of like at some point I feel like I let go of like I need a title of like I am black. Um I don't think I need to like prove my blackness to anybody. I think that's I honestly even think sometimes that's like a weird thing to say. Um because in some regard I do think that plays into like stereotypes and what people expect somebody who is black to act a certain way, speak a certain way. A lot of the time I wasn't black enough because I didn't talk black is what people would tell me. I wasn't like I didn't like speak a lot of AAVE, and that was like an issue. Like Ebonics and stuff like that. Yeah, like just like a lot of like African American slang and stuff like that. Like I just didn't like speak that way. I also didn't like or sound like I grew up in the hood. I have Valley accent, so that was like a big part of it. And then my parents visibly white. Um, so I think a lot of the time people like I think still to this day people like will look at me like I grew up like wealthy. Did not. Definitely grew up struggling. But people look at me because like that I grew up wealthy because like I don't speak that way or like I carry myself differently. Um, and honestly, I just like had to let that go. I don't want to like have to prove to somebody that I am worth fitting in somewhere. Um, when it comes to like, I think where the like struggle is in that is like, of course, I want to be in African American culture and I want to embrace all of that. And I do. I just think in my own way, I guess. Like I don't want to be somebody that's like I'm black and here's why. I don't like want to like have to have that being my like front facing thing. And honestly, like I think living in Orange County taught me a lot. Um, it's a lot of white people there, and that what the first thing they see is a black woman. Um, I've had a lot of interactions there, not great ones, and I had to kind of put myself in a place to one like I didn't want to be as much as these like racial interactions like do make me angry. I don't want to put myself in a place that gives anybody who has the idea already that black people are a certain way, me be that visibility for them. I never wanted to be visibly the angry black woman. Um, and I mean, I think about a conversation we had not too long ago. Um, and they were like, they told me, they said, I didn't expect you to act the way you act. And I was like, okay, like what does that mean? Um, and they were like, well, you were polite and you're quiet and like you carry yourself well. And I was like, oh, this is like racially motivated. And I was like, okay, I like part of me like wants to be that representation, but I don't even think there needs to be a representation in the first place. Um, I don't. I think truly, I think what like changed my mind was like first finding like good, healthy self esteem within myself, not basing it on like what anybody else had to say, and then what does like to me, I'm just like a black person living. Like I don't have to like be like, oh, like I'm black and like I don't it's hard it's hard to like describe because like I am black and I am proud to be black. There's nothing I am nowhere near like ashamed or want to hide that part of myself at all. Um but there are times where I don't feel like I need to like shout that from the rooftop. Um and make my race my identity. And because there's so much more to us than just our race. We have personalities and we have things we love and enjoy to do and we have things that make us who we are outside of our race. And I think once you're like once you start being comfortable within yourself, your race isn't your whole identity. It's just like part of who you are. I think race makes part of who we are, not like that is all who we are. It may be to like somebody else viewing me from the outside that's they see I'm a woman and then they see I'm black, but that's not the extent of me. Um, and I do think realizing that like helped me be like, okay, well, if that's all you want to see, that's fine. But I know who I am. So it's like doesn't matter. Like I don't care what you view me as cuz I know myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean that's really beautifully put, because it touches on a lot of things about where you find yourself, and is it a motivation of like, am I trying to do this to prove something to other people, or am I doing this because I'm comfortable in my identity and I'm expressing that, and like you said, it's not something that needs to be brought up every single day and part of like every single conversation. Um, and I definitely been in that. I've shared a lot of the same testament with that, in the sense that like within the black community itself, I found a lot of resistance when trying to make friends because I didn't engage or know certain things that just weren't interesting to me. Like my brother, like really loved like MTV Cribs growing up. You know, I just I just could not care less. Or like I did. It took me a long time until to like get into like hip hop and R&B like growing up because I was just like so into like cartoons and like anime. I wasn't really like into music or sports. And so it took me like a long time to like get into that world. So like I kind of missed out on like the whole like Ja Rule era, which is like stuff that my brother like really liked. Same with like fashion and all that kind of stuff. I just so bad for so long until like I got like my first like serious girlfriend, and then I started dressing a little bit better. So like women just really do change your life. But the thing that I wanted to like touch on too, like when it comes to your identity, is that like I think when you're like starting out and getting comfortable yourself, you find like a lot of resistance and like, oh, that's not what like black people do. Like that's not who we are until you succeed. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, like look at this black person accomplish and achieve that. Like anything's possible. And I think that's kind of just, I guess, part of the psychology of where we're at, is that like you have to succeed and overcome like those like narratives so that you can create a new one. Because the same thing was like said about people like Maurice Ashley, who's like the first black grandmaster like in chess, um, and like Tiger Woods, like one of the first, like or like one of the like best at golf, which is like a predominantly like white sport, um, or Venus and Serena Williams and tennis. And so like that, it's the same, I guess, narrative played out in different ways, but like once it happens, then it opens up the door for so many other possibilities of what Black identity can look like. And I've been noticing like a trend, even like not that you're even gonna find this interesting, but even a trend like in the anime world where like they're depicting Black people in a more like um accurate and like more cool way than like how they did with like Dragon Ball Z, where like you either had to be an alien or Mr. Popo. Um, and so yeah, it's like it's just one of those things where I think the more we get comfortable with it, like the more it just expands. And I feel like in 2025, there's such a there's just so many different, I guess, examples and access to like what like Black, you know, what being Black is, because I feel like in the past, before like social media, it was so like market driven by all these marketing companies and trying to push like these types of standards, which I also wanted to get into like your modeling career and how that kind of like affected you in like how you do modeling. Um, but now that social media has opened up, like you see so many different types of like Black creators and what Blackness looks like and different people's hobbies and interests, good and bad. Um, but it makes it so much more of a broader picture than just like these stereotyped boxes that you see. Touching going into like your modeling career now, have you found that being Black was a handicap or a leverage in certain situations, and do you find yourself like leveraging being Black in order to gain like certain opportunities? Because I know after like the whole George Floyd situation, there was a big push for like um, you know, more inclusivity and just more Black facing things. It's kind of died down now, but did you find yourself um, leveraging that, and how's that played into like your modeling career?
Thanks. Um, so I mean, I don't like really model like I wouldn't say like full time anymore. I like switched career paths, but when that was more so like my full time thing, um, yes, it was used. Not in the sense of like I was like seeking out things that I was like, oh, this is gonna be really good. They're gonna hire me because I'm Black. It was they hired me because I was Black. They hired me because I had big curly hair. Um, it wasn't like I was not applying to things or like going to casting calls for things um, based off of being Black. It was very much people were like, a lot of the time I got, oh my gosh, your hair is so big and so beautiful. Um, and that's why I got casted, was for my hair. Um, so was it like an opportunity bump? Yeah. Like I would never say that wasn't to my advantage. I do think it has like died down now. Like I do think part of us are like we're partly like swinging back into you know, less representation. But at the time, like you were saying, like after George Floyd and you know, Donald Trump's first election and all that kind of stuff. um, there was a push for like we need to be more inclusive, and that was not just um, on skin tone, but it was like body too. And then I think in that regard, where like Black women are seen as like more curvy, it was like okay, we'll use a Black model because Black women tend to be more curvier. Um, and so then that gets used to your advantage. But with it being less inclusive now, I do feel like we're going back into a place where it's like Black women are still trying to like okay once again find their footing in the modeling world and in representation, and I don't think that's ever gonna go away. We live in a society that was built off of like a standard of beauty um, that Black people just haven't always matched up to. And I think it ebbs and flows. It comes in waves of like, hey, that's great right now. And then actually, I don't like, and then when like something political happens or um, something goes viral that's like not necessarily agreed with, that's controversial, then it's like, okay, let's be a little quieter and less inclusive. And then when people feel like it's a good time to be like inclusive and findy like I don't know, equality or something, then then it bumps back up. Um, all to say, like, yes, it was advantageous for me during my like the height of, you know, like booking jobs and being signed, but I think it like played a detriment into my mental it also played a detriment into my mental health because, for example, like I had to stay like a certain size. Um, I couldn't change my hair. Like it had to like I couldn't even like straighten my hair for like a casting because the possibility of me not getting casted for something. So I just didn't like honestly I didn't like feeling controlled and feeling like I couldn't express myself because I had to fit a certain category of like what a black model looked like. So I let it go. I just stopped. I was like, hey, this is not good for me. And, like if people can do it and they love it and they enjoy it, like by all means, like pursue that. But I just didn't feel like passionate about it anymore. And I wanted to express myself outside of like just being a black woman with big curly hair. And yeah, I just felt trapped to a category and I didn't want to be there. Like I just didn't want to do it anymore.
Okay, that's fair enough. Um, Honestly, that's kind of everything I wanted to talk about, and I really appreciate your time and honesty because I do think it's such an ongoing conversation because and it needs to be an ongoing conversation because I think in today's day and age, in order to make progress, there just needs to be more focus towards a singular goal. And in my opinion, I just haven't seen that since like civil rights movement. After that, the next big thing that you have is like the LA riots, and then all this kind of. I'm sure there's some stuff in between, but as far as like most historically known like movements, um, and I feel like that's just kind of where it's kind of happened with all these little pushes is that like there's like these big campaigns and movements for change, but as far as like what those changes like look like and who is going to benefit the most from those and what actually needs to happen, um, like you said, it just kind of depends on what's trending, and then people ride a wave, and then once it dies down, people get complacent, and then just continue to live where things are at. And it kind of reminded me of this quote I heard about like people don't really care to change problems; they just want to make sure the problems don't affect them. And I've definitely been guilty of being like one of those people where it's like, hey, as long as it doesn't affect me, I don't care. Um, which is not good. And it's not really a virtuous thing to. It's not a virtuous way to live your life. And so like now thinking about that, especially when it comes to the black movement and being black, is more specific to like America. You know, I would just love to see more like figureheads we can like get behind that understand like what we actually need and not just like what will benefit us in the short term, um, and seeing not necessarily policy or laws because I don't think there's like certain laws or like policies legally we need more in order to um, make a better life for us. But as far as like I guess shifting culture, um, and investing more into certain programs and um, just different tools to like change like thinking, because I feel like in my specific case I was really benefited to be a part of a military family to like travel and see the world and see what's really all out there and available and just how other people live their lives, um, And I feel like for you too, like growing up in different areas and having like biracial parents, it kind of just plays a role into seeing the world differently. Um, but that was really it. So, do you have anything going on that you want to plug for the people? We got millions of viewers. If you want to plug and promote anything, let me know.
If you need social media management, if you need social media management, I'm your girl. Outside of that, no. I'm just living life, and yeah, honestly, I'm doing good. So yeah.
We might need to hire Alexis for us because if you look at our sub right now, this is a complete. This is ridiculous. That camera right there is not even hooked on. It's just bouncing. It's just bouncing for its dear life. But anyways, guys, that's been the Lavatory podcast. We have new music coming up for me.
Uppercut the devil in his chin. Only ever play to win. Graceman got my daily mission. Pride and humbleness a constant tension. I swing them uppercuts. Blessed run up over, fill this cup. I'm with the crew, we stay in the cut. Entertained by a video, like I'm watching cut. Truth or drink, yeah, you know what's up. Truth and love, that's how I get down. Been through so much shit, I had to beat down. Don't know how to act, 'cause I'm up now. But my way to the top, I'm packed out. They be seeing blessings. They be asking questions like, how you do that? Yeah. We having too much fun making music hits. Last name Gunn, so I got that switch off the pick and roll. Now they call it switch. Running game with the team, my alley. Ooh, that shit so hot, but my ice creating mist. Never catch me lacking like I'm Zabuza. Hit and miss. It's a bloodbath if you try and come at this. I try to love my neighbors, but they pushing it. How you Puerto Rican with no heritage? Never made a rose gon' do less. Never with the all list. Never sauce it up with souls on in it. But you come at me about my melanin. What you saying then? Tell me then, I'm supposed to function. Tell me how to talk and when to add that punction. You the expert, so tell me about my skin. One more word from you, I'm uppercutting that chin. Only ever play to win. Grace and Christ outweigh the sins. Word on 100, I stand on 10. Music with the homies win. Nauty see about to get it in. Nauty see about to get it.
Pause, yeah. Tell me how I'm gon' get it in. You always trying to play to win, but the last thing you know, I forget they sins, yeah. Pulling up, I got that tick on me. Baby girl don't know why she always walking, got it on me. Yeah, she walking around in the morning. Yeah, she walking around in the morning. Baby girl, you know I'm always on it. I ain't never gon' stop it. Hey, you know how we coming, baby. You know I'm a rocket. Just took off like a rocket. You know I'm gon' pop it. Put that in out of pocket.